This is the Change Your City podcast. I'm Michael O'Neill, and we're talking with leaders from around the world who are making a difference in the global cities of the world. Hello, it's time for another episode of the Change Your City podcast, where we talk with leaders and people who are being used by God to change their cities really all around the world. We happen to be on location in London, England today in the vestry at St. Andrew's Church in Wimbledon, one of our church's partners over the years. And it's great to see God doing so many amazing things here in London. And we were able to see some of those amazing things this week as we were here on a short-term mission trip. My family, my boys, Hudson O'Neill and Silas O'Neill, and then another family, the Isbell family, and their daughter, Ellie Isbell. And so I just thought it'd be great to sit down for a little bit and just hear their insights on what they observed, what they learned, maybe how their faith grew this week. And so I just had some questions I want to ask them, but it really boils down to short-term mission trips are about three primary purposes. One is mutual prayer and mutual engagement. So there's mutual prayer that happens, engagement that happens in the community. That's where maybe evangelism, where you're out in the streets, you're sharing the good news. There's mutual equipping that happens. For example, one day this week, we gathered leaders from around Southwest London, and we did a learning community where we discussed topics that are relevant to our churches, and we just learned from each other, encouraged each other. And another purpose related to a short-term trip is mutual encouragement. And so one of our goals this week was to spend time with our partners and encourage them. So again, just big picture, those are some purposes of a short-term trip. I wanted to first, though, just to break the ice a little bit. You did have some times being in a famous city like London. You had some time to see a few sights, see a few things. Just what's one of the sights that you saw that you loved seeing, or one of the experiences that you did here in London for fun, outside of the formal mission trip schedule? What did you enjoy? Let's start with you, Silas. What about you?
I went to the cable cars.
Yeah.
We went over the River Thames, and we got to see the O2 Arena and the City Hall, and it was really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Just a very unique experience, seeing a little bit of that area of London as you're going on a cable car across the River Thames. Really cool. What about you, Hudson?
I got to play tennis on grass courts, which has always been a bucket list item for me.
Yeah.
Feels like you're at the real Wimbledon.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience. Feels a lot different, but loved it.
Yeah. You played tennis for your high school, and so one of your dreams was to play on grass because you never played on grass before, and really cool experience. Especially we're here during Wimbledon, the tennis tournament. So cool. What about you, Ellie?
One of my favorite things that I did is we went out to the countryside and saw Chiddingstone Castle, and it was like really pretty, even though it was small.
Yeah.
And there was this thing at the end of this cattle field called the Fields of Eternity, and it was like an Egyptian thing. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And seeing all the different Harry Potter places that they filmed, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and one of the reasons you were down at the castle was you were visiting one of our mission partners is from our church, Terry Quick, and seeing his apartment, and he lives close to that castle, right? So I'm glad you all had the chance to do that. Ellie, let me ask you, what did you think? Because our first few days we were with a partner. We went out on the streets the first day, and then we were inviting them to a community cookout or a barbecue. What did you think about your experience going door to door, handing out invitations, and then the whole community outreach barbecue experience?
Well, going door to door, handing out the invitations, I mean, like, there were three of us, and there were three doors on each flat, so we could each knock on a door. I know there were four doors, but like I knocked on a certain door on the flat or on the floor, and whenever that person opened up, I'd open up the door. I'd be like, "Oh, hey, I'm with All Saints from passing these fires out for the community cookout," and they were all really nice, and a lot of them seemed very genuinely interested. And there was one conversation that my mom had with somebody that they opened the door a little late, and by that time we had already been leaving. And she said that he'd been wanting to speak with a vicar, and she was like, oh, like it was, they got his number so they could get him in contact with that, and so that was one of the nice conversations that we had.
Yeah.
And then the community cookout, we were there helping All Saints because they found that the cookout does really well, and it gets people to come, and we had like a lot of good conversations with people, and I helped out with the bouncy house so that the adults could like go and have the conversations, um and it was just really nice, and like all the people that came, like, and I like seeing like how like the people providing the food, like um I thought it was really nice.
Yeah, that was the mutual engagement piece that, we talked about. I mentioned the three purposes of a trip: mutual engagement, mutual equipping, and mutual encouragement. And that mutual engagement piece was huge because they ended up having 150, between 200, 150 and 200 people there. And you mentioned conversations. I mean, lots of conversations happening during that cookout. I know I had a very lengthy conversation with a lady who was asking all kinds of questions about who God is and why Jesus's death and resurrection is, why it should be relevant or not relevant today. I mean, she had all kinds of questions, but that all happened because of the environment that was created with the cookout, and so you could have those conversations. And I know you enjoyed passing out those flyers, and that was really helpful because we saw people come from those invitations. It was a great way for the church to extend their footprint into the community, and I know they were pleased and encouraged by that cookout. Silas, tell us about where we prayer walked one day in an area and why we prayer walked in that area.
All right, so we went to Sheen in Mortlake, which is a district in London. About 22,000 people live there. There are only a few existing churches there. And we prayer walked in that area so we can help with a new like, or just like to help the existing churches there. And we're praying for the school and that all of the churches and the people that live there to convert to Christianity and learn more about Jesus.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that area, lots of diversity there, and to pray on site and really see what the need is, hear about the need there. And one of the highlights for me this entire week was when one of the pastors whose church is going to plant a church there in the future, he said, Michael, I can't wait to hear how God and see how God answers the prayers that you prayed today. And I thought that is a great perspective to have. And it's going to be exciting to see how God works through the prayers of his people, including the afternoon we spent that day prayer walking in that area that, as you said, Silas, really needs to hear about the hope of Jesus. So that was that afternoon, all that afternoon into the early evening. And then we went that night, Hudson, to small group Bible studies. Our family went to one small group and in somebody's home, and the other family, the Isbell family, went to another home as well. Tell us about how was the small group experience for you? What was significant about that for you?
Well, so we did the small groups with All Saints Wandsworth, and it was just very encouraging for us, but also to them. From what I saw, just for us to be there, to be in their regular weekly small groups, and just read the Bible with them. We read Psalm 71, and it was just amazing to see and pray for them, and grow with our partners.
Yeah. They shared prayer requests related to their family, related to the church, and of course we were able to share prayer requests with them. And something very powerful about praying together specifically for each other and being in the homes of members of a partner church was encouraging as well. Stick with you, Huddy. That next day after the small group, we went into an area of London called Hackbridge. What did we do there in Hackbridge?
So it was somewhat similar to what we did with the Boathouse Church, but we were with a pastor there who's planning a church that's going to launch in September. And what we did was just walk around the area of Hackbridge. And one thing we found out is that there's 8,000 people there, but only maybe 100 are either followers of Christ or have any deep religious affiliation. So it was just such a lost area, but encouraging to see that they're going to be planting a church there and establishing a good gospel community.
Yeah. What was so exciting and really impressive for us was knowing that families had moved from other parts of London down to this area to be part of the church planting team so that they could plant this church together. And again, planting a church means that you're sharing the good news, making disciples, but that needs to happen in community so that new believers can be discipled and leaders can be raised up. So a lot of need, as you said, but a lot of great stuff happening there with families that are committed. I think they have like 30 people that are committed to plant this church with them in Hackbridge. So it'll be exciting to see how God works there. Ellie, one day you all had the chance to meet some other teenagers who were doing a school project. How did that open the door for Terry Quick, one of our partners who is with you? How did that open the door for Terry to share the gospel, to share Jesus?
Well, as you said, it was a school project, and they had to meet with professionals and ask questions because one wanted to be, I forgot what it was. I forgot what it was. And two of them wanted to be entrepreneurs. And so they, as like school project, they talked to a professional to like find out how to succeed. And so they asked questions like, how did you become a pastor? When one of the kids asked, when did you feel led to be a pastor?
Ask Terry that question.
And so through those questions, Mr. Terry, he shared the gospel as a part of his answer. And like he shared of kind of his testimony of when he became like, when God like first told him like, now you need to be a pastor, and like he planted those seeds just because he was simply answering questions.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool because I was like watching it, and I didn't know that they weren't Christians at the time, and so but I still thought it was pretty cool that he was still getting the gospel.
Yeah. He saw that open door and he walked through that open door and was bold in sharing the good news of Jesus with them. And I'm glad you all got to experience that. And that's why we need to look at older mentors like Terry, who's 72 years old, living on mission here in London. And when we're around people like Terry and hear how he easily takes a conversation from a school project to the gospel is so, I mean, it's really challenging to us because we think, okay, how can I make sure I get to sharing Jesus? And Terry does it so naturally, and to be around somebody like Terry encourages us and equips us as well. Last question for you all. Why should people pray for London, give to London, give to the mission in London, and maybe even come to London? Go ahead.
London is spiritually in need.
No.
A lot of people here don't really know like who Jesus is. They don't really know much about Christianity. And so we need to give to London so we can help build like gospel preaching churches so people here can learn more about Jesus.
Yeah.
And that they could also do the same. And we can also pray for London so that this can happen.
That's right, because God's the one who's going to make it happen, right? So, yeah, great. Anything else to add to that?
Like you said, London's lost. A lot of people without hope, especially.
Our Uber driver today going over to the tennis club where you played on grass courts. I mean, his name is Muhammad, and we told him while we were here, and he said, and I wrote this down. He said, This is from a Muslim. He said, Christianity is going downhill, especially here in London. It's sad. He also said, there are a lot of beautiful church buildings, but there's nobody worshiping in them. Many of them, the buildings, have turned into apartments or mosques. That's what he said. So you're right. Yeah, there's a need there. Yeah, yeah. I said that was the last question. I want to ask one more, all right? Because part of a mission trip, a short-term mission trip, you're only here a week, right? And then you're gone back home. So part of the goal of a mission trip is like I mentioned earlier, it's that equipping you to live on mission to be more faithful witness where you are at home, especially with you all at school and wherever you play ball or wherever you go or swim, wherever you are. So how did this mission trip encourage, strengthen, grow your faith?
I think from the very beginning, it reminded me that God has a purpose and a plan for everyone's life, and um, you can see Him work even in the smallest of things.
Yeah.
Even with the start of having our flight delayed.
Yeah, our flight was canceled
Uh-huh.
first day. It was crazy. Yeah, yeah, that's good. What else? How did this mission trip encourage you or strengthen or grow your faith?
Well, just like being here and doing the mission projects and praying for these people who very obviously need it. It was very um like I feel like we definitely did rely on Jesus a lot more, I feel like, this
Yeah,
trip.
yeah.
Um and it kind of just made me realize that a lot of times we take stuff for granted back at home because we're like, oh, there's 1,000 people at our church. This is amazing. And then we go to we're like, oh, like there's so many Christians. And then we go to the places and like that Sunday that we had church, like there was barely anybody. And I was like, what is going on? And it just made me realize that there are some places that like desperately need it. And it was just very like eye-opening, I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, also what Hudson said with the plane, a lot of the meaningful conversations that we had were because our plane was canceled.
Yeah.
Was we had like an Uber driver who we wouldn't have met if our plane hadn't been canceled.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, God works through all those kinds of circumstances, right?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I love what you mentioned about the you all talked about the need for the gospel here in London, but also the lack of Christians, the lack of laborers, the lack of resources even. And so that's where other churches around the world, even not just our church, not just the American church, but churches all around the world can come alongside and support and pray and encourage. Yeah. What about you? Silas, how did this mission
I
trip?
would say like this week it really opened my eyes to people don't really know about the gospel, and it kind of convicted me that like I need to like do something to at least tell people about Jesus.
Yeah.
Like not just here in London, but like at home
Yeah.
or like at school, at work, anywhere.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no, that's great. And that's a great way to end this episode, because there's a sense of urgency that we need to feel. And it's not just on a short-term mission trip. It's when we go back home where we are most of the year. We have to feel this sense of urgency that people need Jesus. They need the hope of Jesus. And we've got the good news. So let's be good stewards of the good news that God has given us. And let's be passionate about it. And let's have a sense of urgency about it, because time is short. I'll end with this. Jesus said this in John 9:4, we must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. In other words, while we can, right? Night is coming when no one can work. So Jesus, as the ESV Study Bible says, Jesus shows an intense awareness of the need to fulfill all that the Father sent him to accomplish during his earthly ministry. The we that Jesus used indicates that he's involving his disciples, us, in this work as well. And so let's be about the work of Jesus, and let's be passionate about it. Let's be excited about this good news that we have to share with others. And you all have shown that, demonstrated that urgency and that passion this week. And And it's been great to be with you all on this trip. And it's great to have you all on this episode of Change Your City podcast. You're going to tell all your friends about this podcast episode, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all, Ellie, Hudson, and Silas. It's been great to have you on the podcast. Thank you all for listening. And until next time, this is the Change Your City podcast.